So excited for you to meet Christina Marmonti. She is a real estate agent licensed in New Hampshire and Massachusetts and specializes in residential sales. She was able to join in one of our more casual our community sessions on downsizing and real estate. And all of you found her so helpful. So we're really excited to invite her again to today's session. I'm going to pass it off to Christina and let her take it away.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for joining. I really appreciate the opportunity to connect with all of you and answer any questions that you might have today. I think we're going to start it off with a poll. So Jen's going to pull up on your screens a little poll to ask you what your biggest concern is about downsizing your home. Is it letting go of belongings? Is it finding the right size home in the right location? Is it navigating the financial aspects? Leaving a home full of memories, or managing the logistics of moving? And she's also put in another other there in case you have something that's not on the list. We'd love to hear what it is, and then maybe we can help answer any questions that you have regarding that, or address your concerns.
We have about 10 responses so far.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it maybe a couple more seconds to see if more people can respond.
I got sent the poll. Should I take it too?
Sure.
Oh.
All right, I'm gonna end the poll now. And 11 people. Okay, so I'm gonna end poll and then share it back to you all.
Okay, cool. Oh, interesting. Okay. So it seems like almost half of you was finding the right home in the right location. Now, I'm just curious, just going to throw out a question out there. What does right location mean to you? Does that mean near family, near amenities?
Near family.
Mm-hmm. Not
Well,
finding a different size, or
my biggest issue is deciding if I want to leave a metropolitan area that has just tons of activities, events, etc., and move to a smaller metro area, maybe where some 55 plus communities are located. And then looking at the driving part, so the further out I am somewhere, the more driving I have to do. And I just really question if that is realistic or not.
a lot of towns now have assistance with that sort of thing too. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. There's a ton of volunteer organizations that can help with driving to and from appointments, grocery stores, and there's also like pop-up little companies that have that offer assistance as well if people need them. So
Okay,
that's also
so
a consideration.
I'm capable of driving.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like to drive more than 5 or 10 miles to go somewhere.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, you know, um,
So it's a preference thing. I get it.
so that's what it is. The
Mm-hmm.
convenience, there's a big convenience of living in a big metro area like Northern Virginia versus maybe moving to, Richmond, which still, I guess it's a medium-sized city, but if I want to come back to Northern Virginia, got to deal with a lot of driving. Or if I move to an area that's more remote, that maybe is like, let's say, 20 miles from Charlottesville. It's a 55 plus development, and it doesn't really have a lot around it, maybe a strip mall or two. I've got to drive 20 miles into Charlottesville to go to my grocery store, or I have to drive, maybe 30 miles to Richmond. So I'm just questioning if I would be happy doing that.
That's a very good question. Yeah, and it's definitely one that you'd have to answer for yourself. But I wonder if your family and friends can help you answer that too. Like, what do they do they have a picture of where you would be happiest too? Because sometimes we don't realize things about ourselves that other people notice about us. So maybe asking them might be helpful to point you in somewhat the right direction. Or if there's a way to trial it, maybe getting a rental
Yeah.
in one area for a little bit to see how that works out for you, and seeing if you enjoy it or not. That's really good points, though. Really good points. So it looks like letting go of belongings and managing the logistics is a tie. I know a lot of people have trouble with letting go of belongings. I'm slowly becoming better at that myself, but it's definitely hard when you've been in one place for a long time. You collect all the things and you fill up a house, and then trying to thin that out and let it go is can be challenging for sure. Um, Now I see that Kayla wrote in the chat that the overwhelming sense of loss of home and stuff. Um, do you want to explain a little bit more about what you mean by that, Kayla? Is she able to unmute?
Oh, I actually think Kayla dropped.
Oh, okay.
Just get back in. Mhm.
Okay. Well, um, yeah, it's definitely something that people do feel a sense of loss about it. I've seen plenty of people having to go through their things and all the micro decisions that you have to make about where it all goes and what you want to do with it and if you want to hang on to it or not, and the memories that come back when you're going through it all. And we'll touch on that a little bit later in the presentation as well. So, and do you want to go to the first slide? Or does anyone have anything else they want to share about the poll? No? Okay. All right.
Well, I did
So,
want to change my answer. I picked the wrong one. It's not
oh,
downsizing. I've been downsizing for the past 2 years. Um, and it's a very lengthy, long process. Just going through papers is unbelievable.
mm,
Anyway, but I'm about 60% done. I'm getting there. But I do
good.
want to I do want to change my answer. It would have been to the right, downsizing and moving to the right location. Yeah, is my
Mm,
main concern. Yeah.
hmm hmm Okay. Sounds good. All right. So I made a little list of other challenges to be aware of when you're considering downsizing, because there is a lot of things that come with that. Um, Firstly, the financial challenges. There are hidden costs that people might not always think about. Moving expenses like buying boxes, worrying about movers and all that stuff. Repairing, if you have a house that you're trying to sell, you might need to renovate it a little bit to make it a little less you and a little more neutral for people that might want to buy it to get the best sale price for it. Um, and then thinking about, closing costs, any taxes. Um, I don't know, I know some of you are from different states, but in New Hampshire, we have what's called the transfer tax, which only shows up when you transfer ownership of real estate. And sometimes that can be a substantial amount of money for people to think of. It gets charged just once at the transfer of ownership, and it's um, I think it's like $25 per thousand or something, split 50-50 between the buyer and the seller. And not everyone knows about that. So sometimes it can come to a surprise for some people that don't know about that. So I know different states have different tax structures. So that's something to become aware of. And also just getting adjusted to figuring out, like, are you going to be moving to a place that might have HOA fees in the new location, and maybe you don't have those now. So seeing what that would look like for your budget. Another thing that typically talk about when planning to your move of downsizing is market timing. Depending on your location, there's a seasonality to buying a home and selling your home. So, if say you're on the coast, it's probably not going to be your best move to sell in the middle of winter. Things like that, just being aware of that as you're going into it. And then coordinating the timing of selling and buying to reduce your financial strain. Some people prefer to do it all once and they want to sell and buy at the same time. which is certainly possible. It does throw a nice um, level of healthy stress in there for you to make sure everything's lined up properly. Um, but also, some people just will sell and then either live somewhere temporarily, like a family member, um, and then look for their next home and then not be stressed out about selling at the same time. We can change slides if you'd like, Jen. Thanks. Um, so lifestyle adjustments is another thing to pay attention to. Like Susan was saying, trying to figure out, do you want to be thinking about your driving, preferences? Do you want to um, live far away from your familiar networks, things that you've gotten accustomed to? You want to try something new? Or do you want to kind of stick close to what you're familiar with because you know how to navigate around that space? You know how to navigate any of the events and the social structures that you might have in the area that you're currently in. That's a big deal for people. Some people, embrace change and they really want to, start afresh and start anew and make new friends. And some people are not as into that. And that's something that you really want to know about yourself and make sure that you pay attention to as you're thinking about doing this. Also understanding the amenities of the new area. So access to healthcare, recreation, socialization, those are all really important. And that kind of lines right up with your proximity to your support system. Like you have family and friends near where you're looking to go. Is there access to caregivers and people and companies that can help you if you need as time goes on? Things like that need to be taken into account. Jen, you could go to the next slide if you
There
want.
was a question from a
Yeah.
member. How do you determine the best location and community for your retirement lifestyle? What are there different accesses to think about? Should you prioritize one over the other based on your experience with clients?
Mm. Um, I would I would definitely pay attention to your likes and dislikes as far as like how you live your life now. If you are not an active person now, looking for a community that has a lot of activities and things that are very active is probably not going to be your best move. I also look at climate. Some people, a lot of people move north to south as they end up wanting to downsize for warmer weather. Um, but it depends on your personality truly. Like it's not something that I could ever answer for you. You want to make sure that you you list out, what are your how do you look at how you're living your life now and the things that make you happy, and when you're looking at a retirement community, make sure that there's access to those things that make you happy, and or if it's not within the community, that it's nearby or approximately. Ooh, I just dropped a bunch of stuff off my desk. That's all right. But yeah, it's a trial and error thing because so many communities have so many different amenities and they're not all built the same. Um, and you really have to, look through them or hire a realtor to help you start out with a list of them and then just narrow them down and try and figure out what's the best choice for you. So, all right. So other challenges that we tend to look at are the emotional challenges. Emotional stress and just regular stress of moving is a real thing. As anyone can attest, moving is no fun. No one likes packing up all their stuff, no matter how long you've been collecting it. And letting go of certain things if you're moving to a smaller space is it can be really hard for some people. Um, there's there's a definite emotional attachment and um, we connect with things. They provide memories and happiness to us. So it's something that is a real thing. Um, and then adapting to your new surroundings is going to take time, and you have to give yourself the grace to know that it's going to be really stressful in the beginning, but you will get to a place once you've given yourself enough time to adapt and learn where you're at, that learn about all the different things and the amenities that you're near, that it's going to work out. So We can go to the next slide. So mainly the main takeaway from this is that you have to prepare yourself mentally. That's the key to the whole process. Um, it seems kind of like airy fairy, but recognizing that you're gonna have big feelings when you are downsizing, and there's just no way around it. You're gonna have to recognize them and acknowledge them, and reflect on the memories that come with the things that you're trying to sort through and sift through and down and thin out. And you're going to have to really focus on envisioning your future and highlighting, you know, how moving to this next phase is going to benefit you. Um, so my recommendation is it's going to take time, just like Susan said, it took her, a fair bit of time to get to her 60% mark. It does take a long time. So if you start now and you take small baby steps, just tackle one room at a time is really the best method of doing it. And if you can't, if it's too overwhelming, there are ways that you can involve other, your friends, your loved ones. There are professional organizers that you can enlist to come to your house and help you, just guide you through, one step at a time through each of the rooms, and help you to determine what to do with each thing and thin things out. So never be afraid to engage professional help. I see another question in the chat. What are the pros and cons of buying a retirement property somewhere else while remaining where you are currently living and going between the two until you're ready to give up one? Well, the pros are you can, I would say, if you can't decide on where you want to end up, permanently, that would be a good way to kind of test something out for sure. Um, Cons, I would say, would be you're now worried about or having the responsibility of two different locations upkeeps, or worrying about, paying two sets of bills instead of just one. So it might be a good way to try something out if you wanted to do that. And then if it doesn't work out, I mean, I don't know if you said buying, sorry. So it would be renting. It would be a good way to try something out if you want to give it like at least a year or so to see if it's worth, if it's where you want to end up or not. But I don't know if you're unsure of a location, then buying might not be the best way to go. Renting might probably be your better bet in the beginning. But also it depends on where you want to go. Because if it's like a community where there's waiting lists, then you might not have you might have to be on the waiting list for a while before you can actually get in there. So you might have to buy to try. Because that's also a real thing. There are if you're thinking you might want to end up somewhere that's a over 55 or 65 community, a lot of them have waiting lists, or they're just not many openings in them depending on the one that you're thinking about. Um, when you work with a real estate agent, they can help you to kind of get the inside track on those things too. They also can, employ different tactics to try and help you to know about different properties that might come on the market before they hit the market themselves. So that's something that you can think about as well. So even if you're not ready to go, engaging with a real estate professional is, earlier, sooner rather than later. Even if you're not like ready to move now, they can help you be on the lookout, get everything planned and ready to go, and have everything ready in place to make a move if the opportunity does come up to buy somewhere that you might want to be. Does anyone else have any questions or comments of things you might want to cover?
There was one question around what timeline makes the most sense for your relocation and downsizing plans. Let's say you want to move a year from now or 2 years from now, like you work backwards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can, 2 years out is definitely the way to go if you want to take the baby steps like we talked about earlier. Because then you're not feeling rushed and you don't have to feel any kind of stress around it. And you can explore more options that way too, because you can see what's out there, really analyze what your needs are, and make sure that you um, are being really thoughtful about, the downsizing piece of it. Um, 1 year out, I mean, I would say 2 years out is good if you're needing to get on a waiting list for somewhere. Like if there's a community that you've been eyeing that you're really looking forward to, then a lot of them have the opportunity to tour them, and you can go on tours and see if it looks like something that like you might want to investigate further. And it's never, I would say it's never too early to do any of that stuff, even if it's, years away.
Any other reactions to this list on mental preparation from folks? Is there something that's should be on here but isn't on here? Or
Yeah,
question you're personally grappling with?
I see Susan talking about, the snow. Are you talking about like snowbird living, 6 months in one property, 6 months in the other? Yeah, it is realistic for some people. I know people that do it too, and they're happy with it because they like that. They're constantly going to wherever is warmer. Um, you do have to winterize one property for that 6 months that you're not there, though. So, making sure that um, you do have someone that you can call in the event that the property needs to be checked on, making sure that you have a some kind of a person lined up for if anything were to happen, because if you're living far away, like if you're in Florida, um, it's good to have someone wherever in Virginia that you could have check on the property from time to time, because when homes aren't used regularly, things can happen, like pipes can dry out. The little traps under the sinks and in the toilets, they it's helpful if they get flushed regularly. So it's always helpful to have someone that goes in and kind of runs the systems every once in a while, because 6 months is a long time for the property to not have any kind of use. I don't know. Is that helpful?
And I guess one question just to kick off the discussion is we touched up on a lot of things, but not so much the financial considerations of
Mhm.
downsizing. In regards to, there are obviously costs associated with it, but are there also potential benefits from downsizing?
Mm, yeah, I've seen a lot of people that they move to a smaller footprint home and their energy costs are way lower, which is a nice welcome surprise. Insurance costs are lower for like homeowners insurance because you have a less of a house to insure. Um, your your overall footprint gets smaller, so it's definitely going to be a cost savings. But additionally, when you do downsize, sometimes you make a choice of what town would be a better tax. Um, what's the word I'm looking for? If you choose a town that has less taxes than the one you're currently in, then that can be a benefit as well. So you won't pay as many dollars towards those yearly taxes. So that's often a nice benefit as well for people that do this.
I also had Mark ask in regards to assisted living and independent living situations when you're assessing your next move. Christina, if you have any like high level perspectives on that, and Mark, feel free to come off mute and ask a more specific question if you have any.
Is he down here? Oh, I see him. So you're looking at assisted living. What was the question exactly? Like,
It was asking like if to cover anything around assisted living and independent living situations. Are there
mhm.
differences in what you're looking out for when you're downsizing there? Anything to watch out for?
Mm, so independent living is pretty broad, but there are places that offer a tiered approach where you can start out in an independent living situation and kind of like shift around within the community if you as you end up needing more care. And those communities are starting to become more popular, because once you I think it provides a level of comfort where you start out in integrate yourself into the community, and then you become familiar with the residents, familiar with the neighbors and whatnot. And then, as you need more assistance, you still stay within that community. You just move to a different location that is able to provide you with more help if you need. Um, there are a handful of those. They're not as prevalent. They're not, there's not a ton of them, but they're starting to pop up here and there in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, and I'm sure in other states that they're going to follow. There are probably plenty of them around there too. Those I often find are attractive to people that, they want to think long term instead of thinking, I'll move to this place until I can't, live independently anymore, and then I have to look for another place because it's kind of built in. You already know that you have like a tiered approach to it. Um, so those places do tend to cost a little bit more money because they are providing almost like it's a it's a stress free experience for sure, because you don't have to think about a lot of the details because it's all in one place. And some people really like that, and it's very attractive to them. So that could be an option for people that want to have that kind of experience.
Mm.
Did you have a question, Jackie? It looked like
Yeah,
you were raising your hand.
yeah, I did. I was thinking, is there such a thing as maybe like a one-stop shop for, there's a lot of angles around this. And I know the people in our age group are, big commodity. We are a big population. It's a big business. And I don't mean in a bad way. We're just, the numbers are huge. And I know there's a lot of things popping up. Are you aware of any kind of one-stop shop for this who can kind of, be hired to help us navigate these questions? I mean, I know there's coaching, but and there's many different things. What do you know in the field of this?
So there's
Yeah.
there's senior move managers, and they can be helpful in a lot of ways to help you navigate things like this. There's also a lot of realtors have special designations, and they just focus on seniors and their needs.
What was the last one?
There are also designations. You know how a lot of people have like acronyms at the end of their names.
Oh.
There's certain certifications you can get as a real estate agent that help you to just focus solely on seniors and just specialized to
Okay.
help people in that phase of life. And that's definitely something that they're definitely trained in the areas to help, like you said, one-stop shop. I know there's a realtor that used to be in my office, and she has an estate clean out business, and she's a realtor, and she has her designation. So like she only focuses on this demographic. Whereas there's other realtors that like myself that focus on a broader range of people. But that still work with all different kinds, but don't specifically only specialize on these groups of people. But yeah, there are definitely options out there for one-stop shops. Was that helpful? Okay. Yep.
I
Does
also
anyone
put
else?
in a website called, I think you mentioned this, Christina, Senior Move Managers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the website's in the chat, and take a look. It seems like they simplify your home transitions, and it's more like what you're looking for, a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's
Yeah,
also
that's great.
called a place for mom, which I think is a little bit more for assisted communities, but it's also another place where you can, look for places near your zip code for potential options. So this is more of like a database of potential places. That link is also in the chat.
Great resources. Does anyone else have any comments, questions, any things that they'd like to bring up?
know Helen just joined us, so I want to make sure, Helen, you have an opportunity to ask a question if you have. I also see Jack, you just went off mute again, so feel free to jump in.
Is that okay? I mean, who hasn't asked
Yeah.
a question? I could wait.
No, go ahead.
All right.
If
I,
I could, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
We'll go Jackie, and then we'll go to. Mhm.
Thank you. I am wondering how and where I might find people to build community in my own home. For instance, I have like a 3 or 4 bedroom space, and I tend to think a little bit out of the box and say I don't want to move. Are there resources where I would invite people to live with me, fellow seniors, fellow like-minded, to create an environment in which we might want to live together?
Yeah, Jen, you had a link at one point, I think, in our last session. Do you remember what it was?
I just shared it. It's called Nesterly.
Nesterly, that's it. Yep.
I'm not 100% sure. I mean, anyone can come to your apartment and rent, but I actually think they more focus on younger generations. So the different cities that are available currently are like Greater Boston, like Greater Pittsburgh. I am assuming that's where there's some like young professionals, like college, grad school students that are looking for options. And you can basically rent out your room. And the last I checked, there's some like a co-living arrangement where, yeah, if you are much older and need help with like groceries, like the renter in your unit can help with that, for instance. But I think it's worth looking into. Nesterly is a great company.
I actually have seen people post on Facebook Marketplace to in your age groups that have just wanted to have a roommate here and there in the same age group as them to, have like minds in the same house. And they've gotten a ton of responses. So, I mean, if you're not afraid of doing the Facebook Marketplace thing and giving that a go, I think that you would get some people that would be interested in that kind of arrangement as well.
Thank you.
So who was the second person that had someone else, right?
I had a question. This is
Yeah.
Ildiko Schultz, and I apologize if this was discussed. I got a call in the middle, so I went on mute to not bother anybody. So if you already discussed this, but I'm looking to downsize, and I'm actually in the position of having to do something very, very quickly. The place that I've really wanted to downsize to, something became available, and it's moving very quickly. I have a large house, 4 bedrooms, loft, 4,000, all this, there's a lot, I got a lot of furniture. And my preference would be to just sell as much as I can out of the house and then just buy new for the new place. But I don't even know how to go about it. And I've heard horror stories about people that run what they call quote unquote estate sales, and they take so much in commission that it's hardly worth the aggravation. Any recommendations, any suggestions, any thoughts on how to, divest myself of, 4 bedrooms of furniture, dining room, family room, living room, finished basement, pool table, just a lot of stuff.
Well, while it is true that some of those companies do take a healthy payment, there are some of them that are more modest. So I would recommend that it would be worth at least trying to interview a handful of them just to compare them, because there are some good ones out there. There are, ones that are caring individuals that, started the businesses because of, seeing a loved one go through a similar situation and they felt like they needed to take action. So I definitely think that if you can, call them up, have them come out, interview them, ask them, what their fees look like, ask them for all the, the details regarding the fees, making sure that nothing is missed, and compare them. Because ultimately taking on something like that alone is really hard. Like unless you have the time, but it doesn't sound like you have the time. So
No.
it's something that you probably want professional help with because a lot of them have systems
Well,
that they can.
how do I find people, potential people to even interview? I mean, do I look up estate sale?
Yep, you look up estate cleanouts. Where are you at? What town are you in? Are you
I'm
what
in
state?
Lake Zurich, Illinois.
Illinois. Yeah, usually I would recommend Googling estate cleanouts or
Estate what? I'm sorry, estate?
estate cleanouts
Oh,
or sales. Yep, estate sales. I also recommend if you go to, are you on Facebook at all?
yeah,
So if you go to your town Facebook page, oftentimes you can ask, for recommendations, and people that are in your town that have used such things might be able to chime in and tell you about their experiences. Because a lot of times when you go to like Yelp or Google reviews, sometimes those can be, padded, if you will, by
yeah.
people that the company knows. But if you go to something that if you go to like a community page, like a Facebook page or something that, and just put it out there as a question, a lot of times people will share their experiences with you and be able to share companies that they feel, were good, and that's
Okay,
helpful.
that's a thought. I didn't even think of that. Thank you.
Hmm.
I also put in some links in the chat of estate planning companies with good ratings that are national. Caring Transitions, Everything But the House, and Grassons. Take a look and see maybe these are good places to start your interviews and see if it fits your needs.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good luck.
Any other questions or scenarios that you're grappling with that you would like to think through with Christina?
Yep, good suggestion, Stephen.
I found it incredibly helpful for everything from getting rid of furniture to finding doctors, lawyers, lawnmowers. Everybody's very helpful.
Yep, out here we have a thing called Angie's List. That's a list of places that can be used. But also, even if you call, like I know personally, I have a list of vendors that are my favorites that I've had people use in the past that had really good reviews. So contacting a realtor in your town and just saying, hey, do you have any recommendations? Even if you're not planning on using them, most of us will be happy to share with you because we want the vendors that are good to be able to get business. So if you want to reach out to some local realtors and kind of pick their brains and see if there's anything that they've had their clients use in the past that might be helpful as well.
I wanted to share that when I started my downsizing 2 years ago, I came across someone who is a professional. I don't know what you call his category, but he assists people with downsizing their homes. And his name is Matt Paxton, Paxton. And the way I came across him was on PBS, and it was an hour-long show on how to approach downsizing. Long story short, he has a book out. And I think I mentioned this on, maybe a year ago on this group. And it's called Keep the Memories, Lose the Stuff. And I read that book from front to from cover to cover. And that's what got me motivated. It helped me approach how to downsize. And some stuff I just donated to the thrift store. Some stuff I put on Nextdoor for free. And the person just showed up at my condo and carried it off and put it in their car. I didn't have
There are
to.
a lot of
I didn't have to
professional organizers
lift a
that help you.
thing. Yeah. Well, I did it myself. And I don't have enough stuff probably to do an estate sale. So I just kind of chipped away at sort of things I wanted to donate, to thrift stores, things that I just wanted to give to people and not haul off to a thrift store. But anyway, that book, and there may be other books too, but that's what really got me motivated. But the one thing I've left to last is going through the photos, because I have about 20 boxes of photos. Majority are from my parents and when they passed. And what he taught, what one thing that stayed in my mind is, as far as photos go, toss 80%, keep 20%. And I will guarantee you, with most of the photos my parents took, many of them are just out of focus or duplicates or whatever. But I have boxes and boxes and boxes. So that will be the very last thing that I need to take care of.
There are people
you
that help
know.
with that too, Susan. Did you know that?
No,
So I know,
that would just
yeah,
do it.
there's a woman that's in Nashua that I met the other day. She will help you go through your photos
Oh,
and organize them and put
so it's
them
like
into
an
these.
organizer. The person
Mhm.
is like an organizer. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
that's good to know.
but she's, because not everyone in your family will want to sit with you and go through all these, right? But
Right.
she
Yeah.
will,
Yeah.
and she'll help
Okay.
you to determine, what can go into, and she'll help you make lovely albums out of them too. Or if you want a
Mm-hmm.
digital type of thing, then
Yeah.
she can do that as well.
Yeah.
And she, Kayla, to your question, yeah, she does charge a fee, but I think it's flexible as far as what you want. If you only want her for like a couple hours, you can, if you think once she helps you figure out the structure of how to go through them, and then you can do the rest yourself, then I think that, that's helpful for some people, because getting, like you said, Susan, getting started is like, you're dreading it, you don't want to do it, it's a big task, it looks, huge. But if you have someone come in that just basically is like directing you, like, here, let's start here, and then this is how we are going to organize them, and then you can do, you know the bulk of it, for free for yourself. But at least getting someone to help you, get started is the key, because
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it is a daunting thing.
Yeah. And I stopped about 3 months ago. So I need to get the motivation back up. Now, I ended up with a lot of my parents' things. So uh, they, were rat packs and had duplicate copies of all kinds of, documents. But I've done a very good job at going through 50% of their stuff. So, that's just on me. That's their things. And then I have my things. But,
There are also
it,
places that will scan it too. Did you know that too? Like you can,
yes.
that's helpful.
I'm gonna tell you, I've been doing the scanning and I haven't relinquished that yet.
Mhm.
And I do agree. It would be most helpful just to put all that in a box and have somebody else scan it.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
a time-consuming process. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yep.
So one of these days, it will be over. I will be done, and I really look forward to that. So, yeah.
Well, good for you for starting it, because that's
Yeah,
half the
yep.
battle. Mhm.
I also shared the book, Keep the Memories, Lose the Stuff.
Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it seems like Matt Paxton has a website. So also share that with y'all if you want to kind of, I think he had like podcasts, videos that you can listen to.
I mean, he
Um,
just got me motivated because he's an expert. He's an
mhm,
expert at that. So it was most helpful.
Mhm.
definitely. I think we have maybe 5 to 10 more minutes today. Any other questions? It doesn't have to be just about decluttering, but it could be more real estate focused as well. Christina's area of expertise. One question I have though, actually is, how do you find a good real estate agent, and what are the things you should be looking for, especially as you're looking for someone specialized in perhaps downsizing or going to a different community?
It's a good question. It's basically, you have to interview them, look for online reviews. People, a lot of realtors are very prideful of their online reviews. I know I am. Um, I, I think because you have to click with them, because this is going to be a very stressful time in your life. You need to make sure that your personalities are enmeshed, and that they can understand what communication preference style is, that they are willing to go out of their way to help you when things really get, stressful in the move as it will, and to someone that will really listen to you, to make sure that when you say you're looking for a specific thing, or if you need help with a specific resource of some kind to help you in your downsizing journey, that they really listen to you. I know it's sometimes easier to go with a realtor that so and so has recommended because they're your friend or whatever, but that might have been a good realtor for them. It might not be a good realtor for you. So you want to make sure that you meet with them and have a consultation with them, and then that way you'll know ahead of time if they are the right fit for you.
One thing I would add is potentially depends on, like, for example, for us, when we were looking at new apartments, we really wanted to be data driven. So that was a really important angle. And when we're talking to real estate agents, like how much of comps do they do, and how strenuous, how much of effort is it to really show the entire bandwidth of potential. So that was just one thing that we personally looked at. But
Yeah.
like knowing what's important to you.
Yeah. There's a lot of, and I hate to say this because I am one, but there are a lot of realtors, and so you can probably just throw a stick out there and say I need a realtor, and everyone will come flocking to your door. But they definitely, we're not all made the same. So there are some people that put forth the minimal amount of effort to get the job done, and then there are some people that really become emotionally invested in the process of helping you get to where you want to be, and that is the kind of realtor that you want. You want to have someone that is focused on building a relationship with you, making sure that you're okay and that you're the first priority, that your needs are number one. If you find that person, then they're worth their weight in gold. I see someone just posted in the chat. Friendship Works will match you with a volunteer. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Oh, that's a great idea. That Friendship Works. I've never heard of that. I'm gonna write that down.
I will find the link for you.
That's great, Tony. I didn't know about that.
Here it is. Friendship Works.
You're very quick to find the links. Thanks, Jen.
Well, thank you, Christina, for your time today. I know some people are dropping early. Just want to make sure you all have the feedback form before you leave. So let me just pull that up here. Let me find it. I want to send over the feedback form to you all. You'll be able to find it in the chat right now.
Christine, I do have a quick question. So again, getting back to finding a real estate agent, because there are tons.
Yep.
I wouldn't even know where to begin. Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned first looking at the reviews. Did I hear that correctly? So you're talking about, like, let's say if you're with Long and Foster, finding the agent on that website, and there's usually reviews there. Is that what you're kind of suggesting, or?
So realtors can have reviews in different places.
Okay.
I would check their Google reviews. I would
Google.
check
Okay.
Yep. I would check their realtor.com reviews.
Okay.
Some agents focus on having reviews only be put on their Facebook pages. Some agents only focus on having their reviews put on their Zillow page. But a good agent will have reviews and sprinkled amongst all of those things. But you can generally get like a good idea of what kind of person they are by looking through all of those areas and seeing what the general gist is of how people are talking about them. And when you do find someone that you're looking at, try and find someone that's pretty close to your geographic area, because real estate is hyper local. There's definite benefits to having a realtor that knows an area that they're working in like the back of their hand. if you want a realtor that's been working in your town, they've probably been in every single one of those houses in the town at one point or another, and they'll know, their market really, really well. And that's super
Okay.
helpful. You can have the best realtor in the world, but if they live 2 hours away from you, they're not going to know
Mm.
the nuances of the town that you're
Hmm.
trying to sell in.
Well, so many of them now do just, I mean, it's more about getting the listing. So I've noticed, realtors will have a listing an hour away, going west, an hour going north, an hour going south. They're
Hmm.
no longer like in just a small little, let's say, Alexandria,
Yeah.
Virginia, or just they do Alexandria and Annandale only. I mean, so many are just, hey, I get the impression it's more about, hey, it's a listing, I'll take it.
1 hour away isn't that big of a
Okay.
I
Okay.
would say anything over the 1 hour mark is
Gotcha.
is what I would start to question their real knowledge of the area.
Hmm.
Because a realtor that does it full time, like I work probably about 60, 70 hours a week, and I'm everywhere. Like I travel to
Mm.
tons of towns all the time to show houses and properties, and that 1 hour radius, my car is
Mm.
is getting the crap eaten out of it because of all the miles that I drive.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I'm in a lot of different towns in that 1 hour radius, and there's no so I wouldn't consider that would be too much, but anything past that 1 hour mark, then that's when it really starts to become difficult to really have a good knowledge base. Um,
And what are sort of just a couple key things I want to read in a review that indicate the realtor is really good? Like maybe won the bid, or I mean, like what kind of lingo do I need to?
I would focus on that she listens to me. She
Mhm.
anything that talks about them going above and beyond in whatever way that is.
Mhm.
Um, I would focus on anything related to their customer service.
Mhm.
Because a lot of realtors, they just do there's a bare minimum amount of stuff, but the ones that have the nice personal touch, the ones that go above and beyond, the ones that are,
Okay.
trying to make sure that they proactively see anything that's coming up ahead on the pike before you even get there, type of
Mm.
thing.
Mhm.
Um, you want someone that's going to be doing those sorts of things, and being really knowledgeable in the area is going to be one of those two. So, um, seeing if they've had if there's anything that talks about how they handled different disasters that struck. So a realtor can only control so much, right? There's so many other players when you're selling your house that you need to be thinking about. There's the buyer's agent, there's the buyer's lender, there's the title company, there's the attorneys on if there's attorneys on both sides, if it's an attorney state, um, and how that realtor navigates, you know, handling all of those people on your behalf so that you still make it to the closing table with the least amount of stress. Anything that talks about that's going to be worth its weight in gold, because there's so many moving parts to a real estate transaction, and so you really want to make sure that you have someone that is cool under pressure and can
Mhm.
handle all that for you,
And
so you don't have to
a
be
good
stressed out.
negotiator, is that a
Hmm.
key?
Yes, yep. Good negotiation is a key
Mm.
for sure.